There is a night when eternity leans down like a whisper, a night when heaven lowers itself like a door left slightly open, just wide enough for a soul to notice, just narrow enough that most people will walk past without ever seeing it. That night is Christmas Eve. Not the Christmas Eve you think you know, not the one filled with lights, noise, shopping, rushing, but the one the saints trembled before. What if, just listen, Christmas Eve isn't a date on the calendar, but a spiritual doorway, a threshold between the seen and the unseen, a moment when God knocks softly, and the sound is so gentle that only the awake will hear it. Padre Pio understood this. He used to say that some nights decide the direction of a soul, and among them, this night stands alone. So, before we go deeper, I want to ask you for something simple but powerful, something that might be the first yes that opens the door. If you want grace to visit your home this Christmas, type in the comments, "Merry Christmas, Lord, I am listening." Or, if you feel drawn to Padre Pio's protection tonight, write, "Saint Padre Pio, pray for us this Christmas." Your comment isn't just a gesture, it's an act of faith. And faith is the key that turns heavenly locks. Because maybe, just maybe, God is knocking on your heart while you're hearing these words, and this time, He doesn't want to pass by, He wants to enter. Christmas Eve has a silence unlike any other night of the year. Not the silence of emptiness or absence, but a silence that carries weight, like the air just before a miracle, like the quiet held inside the heart of someone waiting to be found. On this night, silence is not the lack of sound, it is the presence of someone. 2,000 years ago in Bethlehem, that silence wrapped around a manger. It wasn't the silence of poverty or obscurity, it was the silence of heaven holding its breath as eternity took its first human breath. And that moment didn't stay locked in history. It repeats, not as a memory, but as a mystery. Every Christmas Eve, the manger is set again, not in a stable of wood and hay, but in the hidden places of the human heart. Bethlehem is not just a city, it's a condition, a place of smallness where God chooses to arrive, a place where the world least expects Him. But here's the tragedy. Most people never make it to Bethlehem, not because it's far, but because they're surrounded by so much noise that the road to silence feels impossible. The world doesn't fear Christmas, it fears what Christmas actually means. So it fills the night with distractions, laughter that's not joy, music that's not worship, lights that hide the dark rather than heal it. It trains us to be busy when God is asking us to be still. Most people drown this sacred night in noise, and the saddest part is that they don't even realize what's being lost. Grace passes close, unnoticed. Heaven bends down, unseen. And if you can't hear God tonight, it's not because He isn't speaking, it's because the world is louder than ever. But silence, true silence, is still possible, even now, even here, even for you. Because God doesn't shout to be heard, He waits, He knocks, and He whispers your name into the quiet. This is the silence of Christmas Eve, not empty, not cold, but full, achingly full, of the God who waits to be welcomed. Padre Pio was not a man who believed in Christmas Eve. He saw it. To him, this night wasn't a celebration on a calendar. It was a place his soul could step into, as if the veil between worlds grew thin enough to touch. Those who knew him said his eyes changed on December 24th. He looked as if he were watching something the rest of us couldn't see, not with fear, but with reverence, like someone standing at the edge of eternity.
One Christmas Eve in the monastery at San Giovanni Rotondo, a brother found him standing in the chapel long after midnight mass. The candles had burned low. The stone floor was cold. Padre Pio's tears fell silently, and when asked what he had seen, he whispered only, "Tonight, souls rush like birds released from cages." He said it gently, like a man announcing sunrise to someone still asleep. For Padre Pio, this was the night when heaven comes down like a lover, not a soldier, softly, tenderly, determined to be received rather than feared. He insisted that humility is the weapon God chose, and the devil fears humility more than power, because humility unmasks him. It reminds him of the stable, the manger, the defeat he never saw coming. But he also gave a warning, never dramatic, always serious. On this night, the spiritual battle is not noisy, it is subtle, silent, decisive. He said that while families laugh and children sleep, hell schemes to keep hearts distracted, not with horrors, but with comfort without depth, pleasure without meaning, warmth without worship. Padre Pio explained it like this: "There are hours when God draws near, and the soul is judged not by sin, but by who it listens to." That's why Christmas Eve, for him, was a night of trembling, not fear, trembling like a soul standing barefoot before holy ground. He believed that every person is given a moment on this night, a visitation known only to them, a knock, a breath, a thought that feels too heavy to be coincidence. And if the heart is awake, it will know what to do.
Christmas Eve is not only a date on a calendar, it is an event that trembles in eternity. While the world sees lights, gifts, meals, and laughter, something else unfolds behind the veil, something so vast, so holy, that if our eyes were opened for a second, we would collapse in awe. Because tonight is a cosmic exchange. He takes our flesh, we receive his breath. The infinite enters the finite, and nothing in creation remains untouched. In the invisible realm, the air thickens with activity. Angels move like wind, silent, unstoppable, passing through homes, hospitals, prisons, and lonely apartments. They kneel beside people who haven't prayed in years, whispering invitations like, "Come home, it's not too late." They collect tears like offerings and present them before the manger. Tonight, many souls receive final mercies, not because they earned it, but because heaven is generous when the Son is born to earth. On Christmas Eve, some souls in their last hours find clarity, as if a window opens in their heart. Regrets become prayers, fear becomes surrender, anger becomes forgiveness. A dying man whispers, "Jesus," and eternity changes course. In families, the invisible is just as real. Some homes are marked with a peace so gentle it feels like someone brushed the air with feathers. Arguments soften. A child hugs a parent they resented. A prodigal daughter sends a text at 2 a.m. "I'm sorry, can we talk?" Peace moves like a quiet visitor, wearing no shoes. But not all homes welcome it. There are places where division sharpens like knives, old wounds reopen, bitterness rises. Why? Because where God approaches, darkness resists. Spiritual sleep is its greatest weapon. If the enemy cannot defeat a soul, he will distract it. A door opens tonight, but only for those awake. It does not open to the clever or the powerful, but to the humble, the watchful, the ones who kneel even when they don't feel worthy, the ones who whisper, "Jesus, I'm here. I don't know how to pray, but I'm here." Tonight, heaven bends low. Tonight, the invisible knocks. Will you notice, or will the night pass like any other?
Christmas Eve is not passive. It is not a night we simply go through. It is a night that calls us. 3 calls, like 3 notes of a bell echoing through the soul. Some will ignore them. Some will hear but hesitate. And some, maybe you, will answer. 1. The call to reconciliation. Tonight is the night to lay down your weapons. On Christmas Eve, the manger does not glow with sentiment. It glows with surrender. The child in the straw does not ask for perfection. He asks for release. There is someone, maybe a person, maybe a memory, that has wounded you. Their name still makes your chest tighten. Their face still flashes in the dark. Heaven is not telling you to pretend, but the night is whispering, let go enough for God to enter. Maybe reconciliation is a phone call. Maybe it's a message. Maybe it's simply sitting in silence and saying, Lord, I place this hurt in your hands. I refuse to carry the blade any longer. Forgiveness is not a feeling. It is a decision. I will not let this wound be my master. The manger is the proof. God came as a baby because power is not the path. Love is. If you can forgive even 1% tonight, heaven will multiply the rest. 2. The call to protect the home. Homes are not just structures, they are spiritual territories. Tonight, heaven invites you to guard them, not with superstition, but with awareness. Bless your home. Do it with intention. Do it with love. Not as a loud performance, but as a quiet shield. A simple sign of the cross over the front door, a drop of holy water in the doorway, a whispered prayer in each room. Christ, let your peace be the first to enter and the last to leave. This is not magic. This is theology lived in the body. When we bless our homes, we declare this space belongs to God. No fear, no hatred, no bitterness is welcome to reign here. Maybe walk with a candle, a crucifix, or even just your hand raised in blessing, not to ward off ghosts, but to invite grace, to say with authority, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. 3. The call to welcome Christ intentionally. If the manger is the doorway, your heart must be the key. Do something concrete, something imperfect, sincere, human. Set an extra chair at the table, not literally for a ghost, but spiritually for the one who often arrives unrecognized. Before the meal or the silence, say, Jesus, this place is yours, not because it's worthy, but because you are. Or place an empty plate with a candle above it, a symbol that Christ is not a guest, but family. You could write a letter to God you never send. You could put your phone face down, sit in the dim light of the tree or crib, and just be with Him. Not long, just real. And so, the night is asking, will you reconcile? Will you protect? Will you welcome? Answer even one of these, and Christmas Eve becomes more than a holy night. It becomes a homecoming. Heaven is moving. The door is open. Do not be afraid to step through.
Christmas Eve is not only memory, it is evidence. Evidence that grace has not retired, that heaven has not grown distant, that what happened in Bethlehem is not past tense, but an echo still sounding through our world. Here are 3 stories, simple, quiet, believable, not proofs in a laboratory, but witnesses of a God who still walks close. Take them as testimonies, not doctrine, as inspiration, not claims of the miraculous, but let them kindle your faith. 1. The mother and the peace that returned. Maria had given up on Christmas. Her husband worked overseas, her teenage son barely spoke to her, and the silence of the house felt like judgment. On Christmas Eve, she stood in the kitchen with trembling hands, lighting a candle because she didn't know what else to do. She whispered a prayer that sounded more like defeat. "Lord, if you are with us, let peace come home." No visions, no voices, just the flame flickering in the quiet. An hour later, her son walked in. He didn't know why. He said something pulled at him. He sat down, they ate in near silence, and then, with a voice cracking like ice breaking, "Mom, I miss Dad. I miss us." She cried, not because everything was fixed, but because peace returned like a visitor, not to stay forever, but long enough to show the way back. That night, Maria learned something. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of Christ in the middle of what still hurts. 2. The unbeliever and the quiet pull. Luca had not been to church in 12 years. He didn't hate God, he simply felt nothing. On Christmas Eve, while scrolling on his phone, he felt a sudden urge, not emotional, not nostalgic, just a strange insistence: go outside. He walked, past stores, past lights, past laughter. His feet led him to a church door. The Mass had started. He stood at the entrance, ready to leave. And then the choir began, O come, Emmanuel." Something inside him cracked open, like a window long sealed shut. Not a conversion, not a miracle, but a shift, a question, a breath. He stepped inside and sat at the back. He didn't pray. He didn't know how. He only listened. And for the first time in 12 years, the silence inside him wasn't empty. It was waiting. Months later, he still couldn't explain why he went that night. He only says this: maybe I didn't find God. Maybe He found me. 3. The dream and the thank you. Anna's grandmother had died 2 years earlier, a devout woman, always praying, always lighting candles for others. Anna, however, had drifted from faith, not out of rebellion, just from forgetting. On Christmas Eve, she prayed for the first time in months. "If you're real, let me know. Just once. I'm listening." That night, she dreamed. She saw her grandmother, not glowing, not angelic, just sitting at the old kitchen table, wearing the same apron, smiling with eyes full of rest. No message, no predictions, only this: "Thank you for praying. It matters more than you know." Anna woke up with tears on her pillow. She can't swear it was supernatural. She doesn't try to. She only says this: it felt like gratitude, like someone was allowed to say goodbye. Whether the dream was grace or memory, it moved her. She went to Mass the next day, not because she was certain, but because hope asked her to try again. Grace still moves. These stories are not arguments. They are signs, like footprints in snow. Not the footprints of angels or ghosts, but of a God who still walks, still listens, still arrives. Maybe tonight it won't be dramatic. Maybe it will be a feeling, a memory, a name on your heart, a sudden desire to forgive. Whatever form it takes, do not ignore it. Every Bethlehem begins small. Grace is moving, and maybe, just maybe, it is coming for you next.
Christmas Eve is not only to be believed, it is to be lived, not with grand gestures or complicated ceremonies, but with 10 small steps that shape the soul like gentle hands. This is not magic, it is not superstition, it is intentional faith, a way to walk through this night as if eternity is closer than breath. Before you begin, stand still, breathe, whisper, "Lord, I am here. Make this night holy in me." Then begin. The 10 steps. 1. Turn off the noise. Silence every device. Let the world wait. Heaven is speaking. Give it room. 2. Ask for forgiveness. A simple prayer. Forgive me for where I failed, and teach me how to rise again. No guilt, just honesty. 3. Light a candle. Let it symbolize the light that entered the world, not your perfection, His presence. 4. Read the Gospel of the Nativity. Luke chapter 2, verses 1 to 20, or Matthew chapter 1, verses 18 to 25. Read slowly, as if every word is a footstep of God. 5. Bless your home. Walk through each room and say, "Peace of Christ, guard this place." Touch the walls as though they can feel the prayer. 6. Walk like it's holy ground, because tonight it is. Your floor becomes Bethlehem, your table becomes manger, your breath becomes prayer. 7. Pray for every heart under your roof. Say their names, even those far away or estranged. Names are invitations for grace. 8. Speak a blessing out loud over your house, your family, your future. No script needed, just truth and trust. 9. Make a space for Christ. Set a chair, lay down a small cloth, or place a cross on the table, a physical sign that this home expects Him. 10. End with peace. Place your hand over your heart. Say, "Lord, be born again in me." Then sit in silence for a moment, not to achieve anything, but to receive what has already been given. Why it matters. These steps are not tasks, they are paths, not actions, but doorways. Tonight, you do not perform for God, you welcome Him, like shepherds in fields, like Mary in her yes, like Bethlehem in its quiet. Walk through your home like it's holy ground, because if the manger teaches anything, it is this: God chooses ordinary places to do extraordinary things. There is a moment on Christmas Eve that cannot be placed on any clock, a moment that feels like the air itself pauses, as if heaven is leaning close enough to touch the surface of the world. Some feel it like warmth, some like a tremor, some like a name they suddenly remember, some only feel a question. If God knocks tonight, will you recognize the sound? It may not be dramatic. No thunder, no star breaking open the sky, no angelic chorus vibrating in your chest. It might be quiet, a memory that rises like incense, a regret that asks to be healed, a sudden courage to forgive, a tear you didn't expect, a clarity, "I need to change." Heaven's knock does not always sound like glory. Sometimes it sounds like invitation, sometimes like surrender, sometimes like a door inside you opening a few inches more. The warning that is not meant to frighten. Do not sleepwalk through tonight. Do not treat this as a holiday of habit. There are nights in the year when the invisible becomes near, and this is one of them. Not because of superstition, but because God delights in entering our world at the places where we expect Him least. The warning is not doom, it is mercy. If you feel restless, listen. If you feel unworthy, kneel. If you feel afraid, breathe. If you feel numb, be still. The danger is not that God is silent. The danger is that we are deaf. The hope that cannot be diminished. Even if you have failed every night before this, tonight is still a beginning. Even if you do not know how to pray, your longing is prayer enough. Even if your heart is tired, grace is stronger than exhaustion. Be awake in your heart, not frantic, not pressured, just awake. This night is not asking you to be holy. It is asking you to be available. To say, "Here I am. If you knock, I will open." A final prayer.
not to force heaven, but to welcome it. Lord, if you come tonight, come gently. If you speak, help me hear. If you knock, give me courage to answer. And if I only feel silence, let me trust that you are near. Christmas Eve is a doorway. It always has been. It will be tonight. And if heaven knocks, may your soul be the place that opens.
Christmas Eve is not magic. It is mercy. Mercy wrapped in swaddling clothes. Mercy lying in a manger. Mercy choosing to step into a world that did not know how to receive him, and still doesn't most days. This night is not about sentiment or tradition. It is about faith colliding with eternity, about God refusing to stay distant, about love insisting on being near, even when our hands are trembling and unready. What Padre Pio understood. Padre Pio, a man of wounds and prayer, did not see Christmas Eve as nostalgia. He saw it as spiritual mechanics, grace moving like an unseen river, mercy poured out like oil, angels descending not as spectacle, but as servants of healing. He once said that the manger was not only the place God was born, but the place where heaven touches earth without burning it. For Padre Pio, Christmas Eve was a threshold, souls lifted, wounds softened, chains broken, not always visibly, but at the roots, where the soul learns how to breathe again. He knew God comes like a physician, not a judge. He enters like sunrise, not lightning. He invites, he never invades. The miracle. The miracle of Christmas night is not that angels sing, it is that God still does. The miracle is not that shepherds came once, it is that the poor in spirit still rise to meet him. The miracle is not that a star once hung over Bethlehem, it is that your heart still pulls toward him like a compass remembering home. Miracles tonight are often quiet, a burden lighter than yesterday, a fear that loosens its grip, a forgiveness you didn't know you had the strength to offer, a sudden clarity that life is not abandoned. This is not coincidence, this is grace in motion. The declaration. If you believe nothing else, believe this. Heaven is not far. It's just waiting for yes. Not a perfect yes, just a real one. The yes of Mary in a stable. The yes of Joseph in his confusion. The yes of shepherds in their fear. The yes of saints and sinners and people like you who want to believe a little more than they fear. Christmas Eve is the hinge of history, the night when God entered our world without demanding anything except room. If you give him that, even a corner of your heart, the miracle continues.
If you have followed this far, if something in these words has stirred or softened or unsettled you, then maybe this is not just a video. Maybe it is an invitation, not from me, but from the one who still comes quietly, like light on the horizon before dawn. Christmas Eve is not asking for perfection, it is asking for permission, for a heart that does not pretend to be strong, but dares to be sincere. So if you want to live this night in truth, if you want to open even a crack in the door of your soul, you can respond in a way that is simple but real. Write in the comments, "Lord, my door is open." Not as a ritual, not as magic, but as a yes that heaven recognizes, a yes that angels celebrate, a yes that could make room for the miracle you didn't know you needed. Before we part, receive this blessing. May Christ be born where you thought nothing could grow. May peace return to the rooms where fear has lived too long. May hope rise like a star above the landscape of your life. And may your heart, tonight and always,
become Bethlehem. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with the ears of the soul. Tonight, remember this: doors open from the inside. Miracles begin in quiet. And heaven is closer than you believe. If he knocks, may your heart hear. If he whispers, may your spirit answer. Merry Christmas. Lord, our door is open. Thank you for staying with this story until the end. If it touched your heart, may it remind you that prayer still reaches places we cannot see, and that love does not end with death. May this Christmas bring you peace, comfort, and quiet hope, and may the souls we remember today rest in light. Thank you for listening. Thank you for praying. Wishing you and your loved ones a blessed and peaceful Christmas.